Hello, my name is Hakon and welcome back to my channel and another little video about something slightly random. When today I say a few unscripted words about this thing. This is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. It is an absolutely tiny little 1,300 some page tome of a paperback, originally published, of course, in 3 volumes. This is a single volume version, just to remind you how much you're going to read through. It's actually quite an easy read, not too story dense, and that's actually one of the criticisms people have of this one, that the story is a bit wishy-washy sometimes, that it could have been told better, less repetitive manner, etc., etc. Some people think it's a masterpiece, others think it's rubbish, some people think it's sexist. I'm not going to talk about any of those things today. What I'm going to say a few words about is the title, because when you see this title or you hear about this book, you sort of think, oh, this is some kind of reference to the year 1984. Perhaps it is a reference to George Orwell's 1984. It does seem obvious that the title refers to a year. So it's a kind of a wordplay, but I'm sure lots of people don't realize how the wordplay actually works. And it's quite an interesting wordplay because it actually sort of works in Japanese and also not in Japanese as well. I'm going to get back to that. Now, when you read the book, you have one of the main characters discovers that she has moved into a kind of a parallel world, a parallel year, she thinks of it as. So she considers her own existence in the year 1984 to be the real world, and then she moves into one where things are different in obvious ways to those who know what to look for. And in order to distinguish between those two existences, she uses the year as a reference, and she calls the parallel world 1Q84 and the real world 1984. But why Q? And that is not actually explained in the book. And the reason it isn't explained is because this is written in Japanese. And to a Japanese reader, you don't need to explain why you choose the letter Q to create a sort of an alternate, a kind of wordplay on the year 1984, because to a Japanese person it is absolutely obvious. And that is because in Japanese, the year 1984 is usually, you would say, 1984, so 1984, which I presume you could also do a sort of a short form and just say 1984, which would be Ichikyu So, and you might hear it now because in Japanese, Ichi is 1, Q is 9, Hachi is 8, and Yon is 4. So the letter Q and the number 9 is pronounced exactly the same, Q. So this is the obvious thing that you would call a parallel year, 1984, in Japanese, if you want to make a wordplay, because in Japanese you make wordplay with numbers. So, but an interesting thing about it, which I quite like as well, and of course it's not obvious in this particular cover, is you can actually, it becomes a visual wordplay in non-Japanese, because the letter Q, incidentally, if you have it in the minuscule, the lowercase, looks like the number 9. So interestingly, it actually is a kind of wordplay that works both in Japanese and in visually in the non-Japanese language, 1Q84. It's quite a clever title that way. Of course, technically, you could have picked any year because there's no particular reason why it should be 1984 that the story takes place. There's no real reference, I think, to anything Orwellian about this. So it seems a bit random, but there's nothing random, which is my point, about the choice of the letter Q, even though it might seem that way when you read it. Now, when I was reading it, it didn't occur to me right away that it was a wordplay. I was actually reading it, I was probably a few hundred pages in, and I thought, oh, hang on, that's actually a wordplay, because in Japanese, which I knew enough of to realize that Q how you pronounce 9. So 1Q84, Ichiku Hachio, 1984, 1984, 1Q84, Wordplay in Japanese. Great fun. You may not realize this, of course, before, but now you know. So now you know something new that you can tell others who may have read the book as well, if they don't know. So yeah, one of those little trivia things that can be fun to know about. Right, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.